We'll call the Facilities Committee meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District Board of Order to order at 6:30 PM. Roll call, please.
Colin Clements,
Here.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
Jimmy Legrand,
Here.
Thorsten Harrison,
Here.
Andrea Gemlick,
Here.
St. Avi Vinod.
Here.
Thank you. Receiving of public comments. It looks like there are no public, let alone public comments. Item 4, facilities usage update. This time we are going to go one at a time. Sometimes I ask if there's any comments, but we are. Facility, are there any comments, questions, or concerns from the board on item A? Facility use minutes, that's page 2 through 4 in the packet. Okay. Item B, finance report, that's on page 5. Okay. C, facilities usage reports, page 6 through 15. All right, item D, denied applications, that's page 16 through 18. And if nobody else has a question, comment, or concern, I do.
I have a concern of lack of custodial help in there, like rejection due to that. Is it a national problem or California problem or just LUSD problem?
I don't know of a single company or school district that is not facing staffing concerns right now. Like, it's crazy out there, and I don't know why. And so therefore, this custodial, and that was my concern as well. I don't like seeing that we're denying as many organizations as we are for no other reason than we can't cover the custodial obligations. That being said, you can't get blood from a turnip, and if we don't have the staffing or the availability, then, we don't have it. But I think it's important that the district acknowledges that that is a challenge that we're facing, and that we understand that it's a challenge that we're facing, and we're trying to address it. But, just like at my work, we're a civil engineering and survey firm, and we're literally sometimes having to tell clients we can't accept the job because we don't want to do a poor job, and because your name goes on your work product, and if you don't have the staffing to do the work, then you can't do the work. So anyway, if anyone else has any questions, comments, or concerns on this, or any ideas, it's just something I felt.
I had a question about it because what if somebody uses the facilities with a faculty sponsor, like let's say via the Black Student Union, and their advisor is present? Do you still need the custodian for that, or could they enter the building and do their little activity, and then that teacher would be responsible?
Well, the first thing we would have to do is not displace the work for that bargaining unit,
Okay.
right? So, but sans people to do the work, without people to do the work, which is obvious here that we haven't had some people to open. Your example, yes, they could open a classroom if it was their school. So let's use the high school, for example. If it was their classroom, they have a card key, they have an alarm code, they have all that. If it was off hours, which I assume it would be because during hours the custodians are there and they have it unlocked, that could occur, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, off-site, that would create a whole different set of hurdles to.
Like if they were a teacher at Mountain House and they wanted to go to Cuesta or
Exactly.
something. Yes.
Yeah, that would be new alarm codes, new keys, training on how to use everything, et cetera.
We had talked about this before, and one of the comments was that part of the custodian's responsibilities is to clean up to the extent they leave trash on the floor, which they shouldn't do, and all that, right? And that in the times in the past, they haven't always, the volunteer help, for lack of a better term, hasn't always done that, that's part of the resistance, if I understand correctly, to implementing that. I'm glad you said something, because I was going to suggest that maybe this is an issue that district staff should or could come up with a proposal to allow something like that on a trial basis, and say, guys, if you volunteer to help, that means you're stepping in the shoes, right? You don't get to say, well, I'm here to to unlock, supervise, and unlock, right? That you're agreeing to step into the shoes. And as, so for me, when I was on the board of whatever, I've been on a bunch of different organizations, but if I was with WSF and I said, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility as an employee, and I'm going to take the keys and all this, I'm going to tell WSF, hey, at the end of the event, you're going to help me clean up, because I ain't going to be Cinderella scrubbing the floors if you leave it dirty. And, so you got to understand this, I'm doing this out of a labor of love for you. You got to help me out. And maybe that could work. And the reality is, if it doesn't work and they leave the whatever the room is, or the multi-purpose room, or whatever, in a mess, then we probably have to scrap the program, but maybe we can try it. Mm-hmm. Thoughts? I'm already getting the eye.
I didn't say that.
I think we can get creative, because I think we need to. I think we have to sit down and think of all the different avenues that could occur, lock up, lock down, knowing which doors they have to check, before they leave, codes, what happens if the fire alarm goes off, because some of the groups that rent our facilities use candles and whatnot that sometimes will set off the fire alarm. So when you have a custodian, they know exactly where to go. If you have a teacher, we're going to have to train them, or a club advisor, or whatever it is. There's some things we're going to have to do. But I think you're right. I think we need to get creative and figure something out, because that list is really too long.
Yeah.
So is it primarily, forgive my ignorance, is it primarily I'm thinking, if we do a pilot program, maybe we focus on the multi-purpose rooms, because those are in high demand, right? Mm-hmm. And, instead of trying to create a program that solves everything, like a classroom or a this or a that,
Right.
we focus on a pilot program for the multi-purpose room and say, here's a packet, right? Each elementary school has a packet. So if you're going to do it, here's you unlock this, you check these doors, whatever, da-da-da-da. And at the end of the night, you lock this, you check this, etc. Maybe a limited pilot program that focuses specifically on the purpose rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe only at one school. I had a question for the custodial, procedures. What are the procedures currently with COVID guidelines? Are all of those things back to normal? Is there extra stress there as far as, they were having to do extra cleanings and extra?
Do you want me to respond to that?
Yes, please. Sorry.
The extra cleaning has abated.
Okay.
It particularly abated when the CDC and everyone else came out with, no, it doesn't stay on a surface for 12 or 18
Okay.
hours like was said originally, right? Mm-hmm. And we focused staff elsewhere. Sometimes it was staff's covering as much as they can because understaffed, right? Mm-hmm. So our minimum is we're going to get to every classroom, clean every classroom, every bathroom, mm-hmm. right? So I think it really depends on if they're fully staffed and what the demands are.
Okay.
Not only in their regular workday, but if they go beyond, if they're opening up or doing whatever, mm-hmm. right? If they have a basketball that night or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So.
Yeah, and I mean, if the pilot program, we're talking about using a volunteer staff member that would, right? That's your idea?
Being able to use,
If they,
an organization we can't guarantee that an organization will have a person in the district that is willing to do that. But to the extent an organization does, I think we should investigate having the ability to leverage that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was just thinking of something else that, might come up is if it's one thing, if it's a school club and their club advisor wants to come after hours, that's like tier 1, so no fees. But let's say like on, like the Mountain House Muslim Association Boy Scout troop, they do have a school teacher that's, has a kid in scouts and says, hey, I'm willing to open up for our scout troop, Where do they go on the fee structure? Is it how do we classify that? Like, would we just,
Well, I don't think that them having a staff member would change their fee structure.
okay,
Because the organization is still, what would that be, tier 3, I think?
Yeah.
Is what it would be. So, yeah, that wouldn't adjust because of the human that's helping them
Right.
open the doors.
so I think that we'd have to make it clear that, like, the reservation should still come through the group instead of the staff member, because I think if the staff
course.
member made the reservation, then they could muddy that up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But your point is well taken, because I promise you, there are some that are going to say, oh, we want to use a staff in order to save on fees.
Right.
So we have to be clear up front. But I think if we can't come up with a pilot program that works, then the fee structure is an irrelevant question, right? So the first thing is it workable to actually leverage the volunteer force? And then if so, then we can worry about what that might look like, right?
I thought there was an issue, like back when we were talking about COVID cleaning, where it was like, when we asked, couldn't people do that themselves if they rented the facility? And then it was, no, that needed to be done by our staff because we needed to make sure it was done right. I mean, isn't it kind of the same issue with the cleaning in this? I mean, I think it's a great idea and I would love to do that, but is there an issue, with cleaning, like this has to be done by our staff, or is there flexibility there?
I'm going to take a stab at that. COVID cleaning was different because right, wrong, whether those guidance things were correct or complete BS, right? They were still the guidance.
Yeah.
And we felt like we had an obligation to make sure it got done. As opposed to, and a great example is we had, way back in the day when we only had Wickland and Lammersville, we had a pancake breakfast in Wickland, and people were just getting syrup everywhere. And somebody had the pump, right? They thought that would be better, but the problem is the pump was just leaking on the multi-purpose room floor.
Man.
Syrup, and people were stepping in it, right? And then they'd walk, and I'm looking at this going, oh my, this is going to be a disaster. So I'm like, okay, nope, and said where, we went to the kitchen because we were actually we were making the pancakes in the kitchen. Said, I need rags that I can clean the floor with because this has to happen right now. I can't wait till the end of the event or else there's going to be syrup all over this multi-purpose room. And did I do a perfect job? No, but it was, at least it was not adding to the, it was clean and it wasn't, people weren't tracking syrup everywhere. And I think that's the difference, right? Like, I'm not expecting people to do, what's the word I'm looking for? A disinfecting clean, because we don't have to do it for COVID, but I do expect them to leave the facility in as good a condition as they found it.
Kind of like the Boy Scout model, right? Leave no trace.
Right, yeah.
Zero footprint?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, with syrup.
There could be occasions where, like, the cleaning is beyond the capability of what that group can do. Like, for example, you brought up WSF. We had an event, the Splashathon. We stayed out there as the WSF to clean up as much as possible, but there was, like, stuff all over the ground. I picked up, like, little tiny pieces of trash. I was going everywhere, and, the custodian was like, I will come through and blow this all, don't worry. He had, like, better tools, right? And he was there to do it, so that worked out. But there could be instances where the group can't clean up.
There could be, but I still think it's worth a try.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean, because there could be a lot of things, but we won't know until we try.
Right, I'm just, bringing up a situation that might occur that you have to think about in your packet or whatever. Yeah.
if I could, I think if we try, we're going to have to be very careful with who we try with. A proven group that's rented with us before, somebody that has a good track record, just because of breakage. I mean, our facilities are fantastic and we don't want them to get wrecked when there's not, policing of,
Agreed.
I think our custodians are pretty protective of our stuff because they take care of our stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Right, agreed. So are there any other, so I think the direction for district staff is try to come up with a pilot program that we think we can keep our arms around and yet see if it might work to do that. That's the direction, right?
Yes.
And if there's no further comments on that, I wanted to comment on the last two rejections, specifically the NorCal Lions. When I read the discussion, I got to tell you, I was appalled. We spend so much time, effort, and money in this district on DARE, on educating our kids to keep them away from drugs and not to start down that path. I have zero tolerance for an organization coming onto our campus with any type of drug paraphernalia and drugs. So kudos to Ben for just pulling the plug. Support it 150%. And granted, I'm sure no organizations are actually listening, but if you are, I got to tell you, that kind of stuff will not fly in this district. Period.
Yeah, no, I had the same thoughts as you when I read that it's not okay at all.
My brother was chief of police of my hometown, and he would walk there were 3 elementary schools in my hometown. He would walk every single elementary school before kids came on, and literally would find hypodermic needles under the merry-go-round and stuff like that. And we can't go there.
I mean, it's already a challenge with some, just running a school and keeping kids drug-free, like when they get in high school. We don't need to have any other inducements. Yeah.
So thank you for letting me wax eloquent on that. I felt it had.
Can I add something about this thing?
Yeah,
for a second?
of course.
Just FYI, if you look at the column on the right, a lot of the groups have been redirected to different schools or different areas. A lot of these permits come in on the weekends. They're very short periods of time, like 2 hours on a Sunday. It's very difficult for us to get an employee to come out here on a Sunday for, 2 hours. It's just not worth their time to come out and do that kind of stuff. So that's what happens with a lot of these permits as well. And the fact that we've been short-staffed all year, we're 4+ short pretty much since Christmas, that's not helping either. But from an employee standpoint, it needs to be worth their time and effort to come out here to work the overtime. 2 hours probably isn't really worth their time to drive out here and do that. It's just not worth it to them. So, and
yeah,
they're tired anyways because we've been understaffed. So, and they're getting a little burned out at the end of the year. And so, and this is 3 months worth of permits, so it's not like it's 1 month. It is a lot, but we have redirected as many people as we can to different facilities where we could get it covered. So.
I apologize, Jimmy. Did you feel that the committee was bagging on your team?
No. I just want to make sure everyone understand that from a staffing point, right? From an employee standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to drive out here Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. to cover the community basketball league or whatever the situation may be, or a Boy Scout event. It's just like, it's only 2 hours and my time back and forth. So if I live close to the school, maybe it will make more sense. But for someone to drive from other places here, probably not worth it for the employee.
Right. So that being absolutely true and understandable,
Okay.
because if I made what we pay our custodians and I live 45 minutes away and you wanted me to drive an hour and a half for a 2-hour event, I would probably tell you to pound sand. I totally understand that. However, the idea is, okay, can we, if we have somebody that wants to, is there a way we can leverage the all-volunteer force, so to speak? This was not to say, oh my gosh, the custodians are not doing their job at all, okay? I want to make that clear. I worked with the high school gentleman at the state debate tournament. One person, 1,200 high school students, one custodian, and 1,200 high school kids, they can generate a crap ton more trash than one person can possibly haul. I stood shoulder to shoulder with him, hauling trash all weekend, respect the heck out of him, okay? I want to make that clear. Like, this is not them.
Yeah, definitely. You brought it, like when you were talking, it made me think of a question, because I agree. 2 hours. I wouldn't do it either for 2 hours of time if I had to just drive in from far away. Is there any time in the future that you foresee that we would have maybe a custodian or two that would be here on the weekends, like kind of a full time, because as our schools grow and needs happen, where this at some point wouldn't be an issue? I mean, I know you've got staffing issues now. I'm talking.
We used to have a custodian that worked Tuesday through Saturday at the high school, specifically. That was the only school, just the high school. We went away from that because things were not getting done on Mondays. The locker room and some other things weren't getting done in the lunchroom, so we backed off that this year. Especially being shorthanded, we need people there during Monday through Friday to get people done. So, but when the high school initially opened, there was a Tuesday through Saturday position, but we've gone away from that probably since COVID, maybe a little bit, about a year and a half, something like that. So it's something maybe we could look at again. If we ever add custodial staff to the high school, maybe we could look at it again.
Once the staffing situation's resolved.
He's got to have
obviously.
staff before you can have weekend staff.
Just so you know, that custodian will work, for example, like a 7 to 3:30 shift on Saturday. And a lot of these events are Sunday night or Saturday night or on Sunday.
Yeah.
It would help a little bit, but it wouldn't solve every single problem.
God, no, that's true.
I got a question. Would it be worth it to come out maybe for a custodian for all day on Sunday? Like, could the district funnel these activities to one site only? Like, only these two schools are open on Sunday, so all the events take place on these days at this school. And so there's, they're back to back to back to back to back. So it's worthwhile to go. I don't know if that's something to consider. Or do they even get overtime or anything?
We try to stack them as much as possible,
Okay.
so one person maybe come this event and then it rolls into another event after that as much as we can.
Okay,
It's not always possible.
right. I'm just wondering if the community knew that, hey, if you want to do a weekend thing, it's at, this school or that school.
And we've actually gotten away from our rules a little bit. When the events get a certain size, we're supposed to add a second custodian, for example. We've fudged on that and maybe had one person and gave them an extra hour or so to clean up so that the event could still happen, and as opposed to saying we couldn't find two people and rejecting it. So we try as much as we can to work with the groups and have their events take place as much as possible.
We appreciate that. Any comments on reimbursements to organizations? Okay. Item 5, information and discussion items. A, large indoor events, CDPH guidance, staff report.
I was asked to give us a update where we are with large events, with promotions coming and graduation coming and all those events. I have good news in that the latest is crowds greater than 1,000 indoors. Let me rephrase. A mega event is defined now at this time, and this update was done in May, early May. Crowds greater than 1,000 indoors is a mega event, and a crowd greater than 10,000 outdoors is a mega event. Now, a mega event rules, once you get over that number, the rules change for vaccine verification or negative testing, which we don't have to worry about because we have nothing that reaches those numbers. So we do not have to verify vaccination or have a negative test proof before any of our graduation events or our promotion events. If you did have an indoor mega event, vaccine verification and negative test verification is only strongly recommended and recommended for outdoor events that exceed 10,000. So the tightness of the control of who goes into buildings has changed dramatically in the last year. Capacity, there's no capacity limitations, there's no physical distancing limitations, and there are no masking requirements. The CDPH does recommend masking in events that are indoors and crowded, events that could have a lot of people in a closed space. However, it is the choice of the individual. So that is the latest I have from CDPH for indoor, outdoor mega events, or really specifically for our events coming up. So that's my report.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Makes it easy. For us.
Item B, LUSD Mountain House Community Services District Pool Contract, increased cost of gas, electric to heat pool. Last I heard, they didn't have lifeguards lined up.
Yes, you asked me to put this on the agenda, and I did. Last I've heard, they don't have lifeguards. I did talk to Jimmy about this just for informational. During the summer, we generally turn off the boilers and heat the pool with the solar because it's so hot outside.
yeah.
So the energy is less, and we run the pumps all the time for filtration.
Anyway.
Anyways.
Yeah, it was strictly the heating, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I know I have to heat my pool even in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we don't even know if there's going to be a summer program at this juncture.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
For that. Any questions? Okay. Item C, 2022-2023 Facilities Handbook. Everybody got it a few days ago, the draft with the red line addition. Thank you very much to Facilities Committee staff for updating and revising and all that. Did anyone have any questions on the proposed revisions? Because I didn't.
No.
Sometimes it's hard for me to go, okay, wait a minute, okay, here's the new, but I got through it and I thought it looked good.
Yeah, I thought it looked good too.
Okay.
So thank you very much. I know that's what you live for is this. Okay, item D, solar update, staff report.
So I'm gonna have Jimmy give you guys an update of where we are construction-wise with all the sites. But before I let him do that, I wanna give you a couple highlights here. Approximately, I don't know, maybe a year ago or 8 months ago, I came to the board and I reported to the board that accelerated costs for construction and problems getting materials was driving down the amount of money we were going to save. Because originally it was $2 million and some change that we were going to save with the solar, and then it became $1.64 million later on because of estimated costs. Well, the good news is those estimated costs came out to our benefit, and now our savings is not going to be in the 16s, it's going to be in the 17s, and it's going to be 1.73 million in savings instead of 1.613 million in savings. So we over $160,000 worth more of savings. So that's good news. It bounced back up, and then power costs are soaring, so that might increase as the years step forward as well. So that's some good news. The other news is Jimmy and I had a meeting, our regular meeting with the solar company today. And one thing that I've said at every single meeting we have, the fencing will be down for graduation at the high school. And they said the fencing will be down for graduation at the high school.
Yeah, that's not a question.
No,
That's a
it's
statement.
not a question. It's never been a question. It's
No,
been
if
a
if
statement.
we have to go take it down, we will go take it.
Yeah,
take it
Jimmy and
down
I will
ourselves.
go take it down
Yeah,
if it
well,
has to come down.
Or's got a truck, and we'll just go take it down.
It will be down. They know it must be down. So with that, Jimmy's going to give you an update of some of the sites.
They actually said the end of next week for the fencing.
Yes.
By the end of next week, so knock on wood or something, hopefully that happens. Essentially, Altamont and Bethany are pretty much done, almost complete. The fencing came down at Wickland finally, so that's a good thing. They got access to the full parking lot. We all know how crowded it is there. The temp fence is still up at Hanson. They have some landscaping to fix there. Lammersville, they received a transformer. It was bad off the truck, so they have to order a new transformer. I believe they said 6 weeks, 7 weeks? 6, 7 weeks to get a new transformer. They're trying to find one locally to cut that time down. And then we talked about the high school. And then Questa, they did the boring, and they're filling in the patchwork that they dug for the boring. And the fencing for Hanson's supposed to come down next week, but they've been saying that for a while, so I won't hold my breath on that one. And then all the schools are gonna need for us to go back and patch in some plants and some of the things that got trampled during this process, and kind of bring the landscaping back to life. And I know we still probably a few irrigation issues, some sprinkler heads or something we'll have to fix and go in and touch those up. But I'm pretty much waiting until they turn the site over to us 100%, and then we can go in and fix those things. So that's where we're at on everything. Did I miss anything?
No.
So the fences are going to come down at the high school, but they're not done with the construction of the solar at the high school, right? Because I still see a lot of stuff out there, like,
Oh, yeah, they're not finished.
okay.
But they may have, what are the connections they put, the little boxes on each of the stations?
Oh, yeah.
They'll have some finish work that they use high lifts to put some of I can't remember what they're called, the electronic boxes that the conduit goes through to the station, right? So some of that'll happen, but they don't need the fencing up necessarily to do the finish work.
So then the high school also needs a vault right in front of the admin building where they had the break, where they hit the power lines. They got to put a vault there, and then they'll patch the asphalt around that. So that's coming. So they have some of that work to do. The subcontractor actually does the patching of the concrete and asphalt is behind and has been behind the whole project. So it's been kind of holding up everything. And apparently they were behind when they did Tracy Unified as well. So, I mean, it seems like it'd be a pattern they have with this particular subcontractor, but that's been the holdup for a lot of stuff as far as just getting the fences gone, everything's gone, just getting those cuts filled back in.
And the rhetorical, dramatic statement notwithstanding, if the contractor does not have the site such that it's safe to pull down the fence, we're not actually going to pull down the fence. We're teasing. We're saying
The fence will be down.
the contractor is going to have it such that the fence can be removed by.
Right. But I watched the last meeting because I missed, and I think Thor emphatically stated that the solar would be done by May 1st in that meeting.
You know, the construction guys have made me a liar on like 3 or 4 occasions. So I've learned my lesson, and now I use may very vigorously. So, yeah.
If not, Thor smash.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, concerns on solar? All right, item 6, future agenda topics and meeting date. Future meeting dates. This is the last meeting for the 2021-2022 school year, and the meetings for the 2022-2023 school year are TBD. Does staff want to put some on the calendar?
We have some mock-up dates, if you wouldn't mind, that we believe will work, but we've got to, you know how the big calendar goes with all the events. So these are our proposed dates, and we'll need a couple weeks to go check them against other things. But if I can give you some proposed dates, and then we'll affirm with an email.
Sure.
Does that work for everybody? So the first date is 9/22, or September 22nd. The second date is November 3rd. The third date is February 2nd. And the fourth date is May 11th of 23.
Let me check my calendar.
Okay. So if everybody could just kind of check and we can double check against the big calendar for the district. We believe right now that as a draft that can work. But we'll send something out when we're more sure, and then if that doesn't work for the committee, we can make some minor changes if need be.
I apologize that I don't remember the committee membership. Is there, I mean, I'm gonna probably pass the torch on to another board member. This is my at least third year on this. And so I'm gonna pass the torch on. Is there any other member that is hit the end of their term? Because I don't think so. I think
It's a two.
I think I am. I'm pretty sure I am.
yes.
No, you are not.
Well, there's.
I think you have a life term.
Jimmy, there is one way to roll off this thing.
Yeah, that's true. You have your keys? I think it was a 2-year
Yeah,
term.
and I
I
think-
think everybody's been.
So it was.
Yeah, I got when I got the letter, yeah, it was 2 years. I'm wondering about that actually. Do they just renew it or does somebody else?
They go out. They get
It's somebody else?
additional requests and
Okay,
and
okay.
I'm pretty sure that if nobody applies and you're willing to stay on, then you can have another 2 years, right? But
Yeah, I think we did that at the first meeting, right, of the new year. Because the new chair and then.
Lisa was there when
Yeah.
I came on. I don't know when. Let me see.
yeah,
Well, I've
so
been here for 2 years
2
and you
years,
were
so
here before me.
Before that, yeah.
Yeah, so
I know you haven't hit
Yeah.
your 2 years, so I think we're good.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes?
I have a question about Wickland School field grass. And I'm wondering how the contract with the, that is going with the field maintenance company.
The issue, may I respond?
Sorry. Yes, of course.
The issue with the grass at Wickland does not involve Jensen, our landscape
Oh, okay.
maintenance company. There was a break of the main irrigation line coming in from the street, from the
Okay.
city, when the parking lot was put in, the additional parking.
That makes sense, okay.
And that break caused a lot of different things to happen, and
So
Go ahead.
the main from the street fed directly down, almost down the middle of the new parking lot to the booster pump. And because we have so many mainline breaks and we have so many lateral line breaks in this district, there was no way that I was going to leave that main line under that new parking lot, because if it breaks and we're going to jackhammer it up, it just creates a huge mess. Even if we're able to put it in a sleeve, it's a long run for a sleeve, the length of that parking lot. So what happened is we had to cut it and reroute it around to where the entrance is now and put a sleeve on the driveway and then reroute it that way. They're working on it now, and they're going to work all the way the rest of tomorrow and Saturday. They should have the water back on Saturday. And we're gonna have to manually water Wickland for a while because all the wiring's gotta be reattached to. And there's big bundles of wire that gotta reattach to the timer. So, but we should be able to manually go out and water Wickland starting Monday if they don't do it on Saturday when they're here. So that's why.
that's why the whole school is
Yeah.
routed, because that main line.
Okay, well, that's good to know. 'Cause-
And if you look at Lammersville, the same thing. We had we had the lateral lines for Lammersville run north-south, and they dead end right underneath the solar. So it was getting stuff wet when they're trying to do the footings. We had to basically shut that whole field off. And when you shut the field off, you shut off all the lines that way. So we just turned that back on today. So it's also not looking its best either.
Okay, yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Item 7. I'll adjourn the Facilities Committee meeting at 7:10. Thanks, everybody.